Oh, what happened? I can't.
Hey, 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 the way is clear. On a good day, you can see it all from here. So I won't go back now, though the way is clear. I will stay for the remainder. I have a life, I call it mine. We know now how all life is sweet, divine. We must try to see one life in all the lines. Many paths, one truth unbroken. So across the years and miles and through, on a good day you can feel our love for you. Take our hands so that we may guide you to this peace that we've discovered.
Good morning, friends. I invite you to please join me in a breath. We breathe with intention to begin with intention. We breathe with intention to allow all of those stories that spin out of control sometimes in our minds. We breathe with intention to let all those stories fall away. Those stories take energy to maintain. Those stories take attention away from the work we are about in this moment, whatever that work might be. And in this moment, of course, it is to gather together in practice of our spiritual living together, our congregational life. When we are in person, breathing in that moment, I've shared in the past that I often get this image in my mind of a grove of trees. And as we breathe together, our roots sink deep beneath us and branches extend from above us. And it reinforces for me that connection that we share as we gather. And all of the imagery of trees and the lifetime of trees and the speed of living for trees as we settle into the moment. Here on Zoom, when we're meeting and connecting through this virtual means instead of in a physical space, I often imagine this connection between each of your little pictures on my screen and this moment and this breath so that we are breathing together. Each Sunday, I kindle some sort of flame a visual reminder that there is something within us that is eternal, that is beyond our comprehension, that we call the light. We call it the light. And we come together because sometimes life makes it seem as if that light itself is dimming, and so we come to have it kindled again. And it's kindled sometimes because of what we receive and sometimes because of what we share. And I say these words every Sunday in hopes they might resonate in our mind as we live through the week, Sunday to Sunday, allowing ourselves to be rekindled by receiving from those around us, allowing ourselves to be rekindled by sharing with those around us. This last week, I sat down with a friend and colleague to be interviewed as part of some research that they are doing. And they wanted to have a conversation around my thoughts on faith in civic engagement. Early in our conversation, I realized that I was uncertain what my friend meant by those words, civic engagement, in this particular context. And so I asked for a definition. Tell me how you mean that word right now. Because had I not asked for clarification, I would have been answering the wrong questions, as it turned out. Since having that conversation, I have been thinking quite a lot about the questions that my friend posed, about what it means to engage civically as spiritual people. And for me, that is really just an extension of what we're always doing, which is considering practical spirituality, what Yvonne Brandenburg, our retired pastor, would refer to as the rubber meets the road sort of spiritual wisdom that aims to transform our lives right where we stand. It's not an endeavor that sends us off on a quest to distant lands or asks us to embrace suffering now in exchange for some hoped for paradise in the afterlife. I'm going to focus this morning on that consideration, knowing that it's really all I'm ever focusing on, just not always so explicitly. As we move in that direction, I want to offer for us a definition of civic engagement that we might have in mind moving through the morning so that we are considering the same questions. This definition comes from the American Psychological Association, which is only because when I Googled definition, that was the top one. And after exploring a couple others, it was also my favorite for our purposes. And so at the APA website, we read, one useful definition of civic engagement is the following: individual and collective actions designed to identify and address issues of public concern. Civic engagement can take many forms, from individual volunteerism to organizational involvement to electoral participation. And so you can find yourself easily in that definition, I know. Considering that, I invite you to include in your Zoom chat or Facebook Live comment as part of your hello this morning, some aspect of your own civic engagement that you are most looking forward to re-engaging as options begin to open up safely for many of us. I'll share that this afternoon's park gathering for us as a congregation is at the very top of my list. Seeing folks physically for the first time in a very long time is something I'm greatly looking forward to. And if that doesn't sound like a collective action designed to address issues of public concern, just wait and see. Just wait and see. I will hopefully illustrate this morning that it is. For now, though, let's take a moment to utilize the technology we have to hand and greet each other in Zoom chat and in the comments on Facebook so that we can be more connected in our work of building church together this morning. All right. As you continue to share these excitements with each other, sometimes you'll notice that I say that when you don't know this on Facebook, but right now very little is happening in Zoom chat. So I just say as you continue in hopes that I open the door, so that I open the door to that engagement. I do want to share just a few announcements. So the first is the details about today's gathering. From 1:30 to 3:30, we will gather at South Grove Pavilion at Garfield Park. If you've gone to church picnics at Garfield Park before, it's exactly where we always gather. If you get the weekly email, the link is at the bottom. If you scroll down, the link rather to the map, I put a little pin there, so it'll take you right to the pavilion. And if you're on Facebook, you can click on events within the Church Within's page, and I've put that same link in the event for today's gathering. It's also Garfield Park, so it's not a huge place. You'll see us otherwise. There will be just some kind of fingery food stuff there, fruits and veggies and some deliciousness, something to drink Angela Letty's bringing, and the paper products that you need. We're also going to have name tags, which you might wonder why that's worth mentioning. But I'll share with you now in case you've missed where I've posted it elsewhere that we've devised this plan. So you'll have a name tag that you put your name on, and then we have these colored dot stickers, pink ones, yellow ones, and green ones, so that if there are 50 of us there today, you don't have to have the conversation 50 times about what distance you're comfortable with right now. So you can put a hot pink one on there that says, I'd rather stay 6 feet away. That might be because you're not vaccinated and you want to maintain that distance. It might be that this is the first big gathering that you've been to and you're just like, I want to ease my way in. I think I'm probably going to go with the hot pink option. I have been hugging people. The idea of hugging 50 people today, to be quite honest, feels daunting to me. We'll see how I feel when I get there. Yellow stickers will say, you know what, I want you just to ask. I just want to have a kind of conversation about whether or not we're going to hug. And then green ones are like, dive into these arms. Dive into these loving arms. I've been lifting for a year and a half, getting ready to hug you in. So we'll have that because it's important we communicate this kind of consent to each other about physical space, which is a whole new consideration for us societally. And doing it 50 times feels exhausting. And so we can just put it on right there where our preference on our name tag. So if you have been worried about that, no worry. We'll be outside. Science says it's safe to be outside unmasked. You'll do what feels right for you. There will be no judgment. If you have sniffles, this is a whole new culture I'm trying to just like seed here in our entire country, is like, if you have sniffles, let's start wearing masks so that colds don't. I haven't had a cold for this whole time, and I usually get 3 colds a year. So I want to encourage mask wearing anytime my nose is running. So if you come in on a Sunday morning, once we're back in person and I have a mask, just know it's for you so that I keep my cold to myself. So that's happening today, 1:30 to 3:30. I hope you will be there. Also click on that events tab on Facebook or look at the bottom of that weekly email for other things that are happening. We're gathering outside at parks this summer for free concerts. We're having sit downs under trees in different places just to chat and catch up. And there may be new things that show up there as time moves on. And then the other thing you're going to see showing up is dates for building prep for next month in August. So that on September 5th, when we're back in person for the first time in a long time for Sunday service, the building is ready to welcome us and we are ready to be welcomed into the building. And so I hope you will keep an eye out for those. I'll mention them here as well. And we'll just do some work together, some paint touch-up, some deep cleaning, some inventorying, organizing, and I will continue to remind you that you can come to a work day and not actually do work. If we wanted this to just be work, we'd probably just hire it out. A big part of this is us just gathering in community in kind of casual, easy ways. The last thing I want to share is I did this year the Facebook fundraiser for my birthday, which you know, and the goal was set at 6,000, and we got really close, like super close, within $100 or $150. I think you would think I would know, but it's a number. It's outside of a sphere. But a really brilliant fundraiser. That is important, especially in this time, because we're not going to have our I've blocked it. Rummage sale. It's like my brain's just like, no, Darren, don't say it. They'll want to do it right now. We're not going to have the rummage sale this year, which is a really nice fundraiser for us. And we've missed fundraisers over this time. And so, friends, we're incredibly financially healthy. We are incredibly financially healthy, and I want you to know that, because it is, I think, just incredible in the midst of it all. And so we continue to leverage that as we can. The pantry, living until the very last minute in the building. And someone just asked me, and I thought this would be clear, like we're not charging them rent. And in fact, the board voted several months ago, more than several months ago, we make donations monthly, financial donations to support the pantry. Betty's on it. The treasurer is in the room. $58.45 is what we raised through Facebook. I think there were some donations outside of it. So really amazing. So thank you for making that happen. Thank you for making regular monthly donations happen. It's easy, I think, for nonprofits and congregations to not want to talk about money, maybe at all, or they only talk about money when there's a crisis. There's no crisis because of ongoing, sustaining support of the work that we're doing. The work that you're doing. So thank you for that. And thank you for the amazing birthday blessing, which is what it feels like every year for that particular fundraiser. So blessings on you for growing prosperity and abundance through our spiritual gathering yet again. Let's take a breath. As we move into the morning with meditation, beginning with music, with Danny Stringham Marquis, and then words of Reverend Ed Choate, as we move toward the message, I want you to be aware that I'm going to tell you some things about yourself today, and you might think he doesn't mean me. So while that meditation's happening, I'm going to look through the room and see everyone who's gathered, and I'm going to click over to Facebook and I'm going to see who's there. And if I can't say these things and mean you, then I will edit it on the fly. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, no, it is specifically for you, and don't try to wiggle out of it.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real though far off hymn that hails a new creation. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to this rock I'm clinging, since love is Lord of heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roar, I hear the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me close, songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to this rock I'm clinging, since love is Lord of heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing?
Good morning, everyone. So nice to see your names and faces. In the introduction to A Course in Miracles, we're told that the Course operates at both the theoretical and practical levels. It emphasizes application rather than theory, and experience rather than theology. It specifically states that a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary. What does this mean to us? To me, it means I take the lessons I learned, those from A Course in Miracles, from Reverend Darren's lessons, from other sacred scriptures and readings, and I base my actions in every second of every day on those concepts that makes all humanity not only my brothers and sisters, yet also as myself. As I meditate, I close my eyes. I breathe deeply and slowly, bringing in divine energy, chi, prana, the essence of life. As I exhale, I release anything that is unlike that divine energy. So breathe now. See in your mind's eye your inhale, bringing in a warm, loving, healing energy into your body. Now exhale, releasing fear, negative thought, anything unlike a loving God. Now continue this process. Breathe in. Be filled with love and healing energy. Breathe out, releasing pain, thoughts that are unkind, anger, and fear. Breathe. 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 As we return, we need to remember that we take this feeling of calm, of peace, of the divine into the physical world with us. I often think of my holy peace as I drive. I often think, where is my holy peace? When they run the red light, when they cut me off in traffic, when they blow past me like I'm sitting still in a school zone, no less, Where is my holy peace? As I'm reminded, we all have lessons to learn, be it how to drive or how to accept and hold my holy peace in the face of that which angers me. My lesson is to bless them and pray for their safety and the safety of those around them as they mindlessly drive on by. Drive safely and be in holy peace. At the church within, prayer is our foundation. We have a team in place to pray for your concerns and to celebrate your joy. You can make a request for prayer at thechurchwithin.org and select the Prayer Network button to submit your request. Know we will be praying for you, that all prayer is answered, and it is ours to accept those answers. Today we pray for those with illness, physical, emotional, and mental, knowing they are whole, they are holy, they are the sons and daughters of their God. May each body be filled with divine healing energy. May each mind know the unlimited peace of God, and may all realize they are loved above all. When we pray, we offer our love to them to fill an empty spot, to embrace what they imagine unembraceable. I offer a prayer to those who shun the COVID vaccine, that they may never know the effects of this disease, nor share it with anyone else. To those who seek power over dignity and justice, I pray an event that shines God's love upon them, that they will never again seek power without responsibility and accountability. To all, I pray God's love. Amen.
Sometimes I visualize this work like I think professional athletes visualize, right? Like they visualize themselves doing a thing and then they go practice the physical thing. And so sometimes I visualize the message delivery ahead of time to kind of get ready. And sometimes to just know if there's going to be a moment where I'm going to get stuck or it's not going to work. You get the idea. So during the song, I was doing what I said I was going to do, and I was clicking through and looking at everybody, and then I went and looked at the people at Facebook to see who was there. You've all passed the test. I don't have to edit in the takeaway direction. I am going to add something. Because as I was looking, I had this thought, which is not a normal one for me, which is you are precious. Precious isn't a word I use a lot. But I was looking and I just was like, God, you are precious. And then I imagined you disbelieving that. And then I started crying during the meditation. So I'm just like, great, I'm just going to have a moment here while Ed's meditating me. So I want you to stop arguing with me when I tell you the truth that you are precious, that you are precious. However you are feeling in the world right now, and I've returned to the script, however you are feeling in the world right now, you are not alone. Whatever your experience is of navigating this in-between space, this in-between stage of moving from strict social distancing toward wherever it is we are headed, you're not the only one having that experience. I've talked about this here repeatedly, and I am made aware again and again that what I'm saying isn't being fully grasped, and I am aware that I am also resisting the full breadth of impact this truth can have on us along the way, both on myself and what I'm getting from others. So let's consider it deeply. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone in how you are feeling, even if how you are feeling is working real hard to convince you that you are the only person feeling this way. Stop believing everything you think. Feeling sad? Feel it. You're not the only one. Feeling glad? Feel it. You're not the only one. Feeling mad? Feel it. You are not the only one. Feeling scared? Feel it. You're not the only one. Stop pretending you aren't feeling those things because you think you shouldn't, or maybe just stop pretending you shouldn't be feeling those things, or that there's something wrong with you for the feelings you're having. Stop that. Stop that. You are missing out on living as long as you continue to engage in that madness. The idea that you feel is wrong, or how you're feeling is wrong, or that you are wrong somehow because of how you feel. You are a human being, and this is what being human is like. You are a human being, and so this is what being human is like. Pretending you're the only human who is being human isolates you from the glory of being human with others, even if with is mostly happening in virtual spaces right now. Let's take a breath. When I was being interviewed about this idea of faith in civic engagement, I learned that some of the other folks who had been sat down for this conversation were very much insistent that their faith life, their religious life, their spiritual life was separate from, independent from their civic life, their civic engagement. I think that's poppycock. I think that is poppycock, and I expressed as much during our chat. Here's why. I believe the role of religious or spiritual living is to offer us the opportunity for transformation. It's not the transformation from bad to good. It's not the transformation from bad to good. You have emerged into this life from the ground of common good, and at the end you will return to that. You are that which is from basic goodness. So that transformation is not about becoming good. The transformation is the transformation from me-focused living to we-focused living. And that seems like a gross oversimplification, and I don't think it is. I don't think it is. How we view that, how we label the different parts of that experience and the process of that experience will vary greatly. It is still pretty good shorthand. It is pretty good shorthand for what we are about as people and as a people. How do I bring the focus from to being less on me and more to us, knowing that I'm included in us, right? So it's not martyrdom. It's not how do I focus less on myself so I can focus more on you. It brings us into common tending. The notion that someone would consider themselves to be religious or spiritual and then say that their religious spiritual life doesn't impact their civic engagement. I told a colleague interviewing me, if we are succeeding in our spiritual endeavors, we are transformed. And our transformed self then shows up in the world for better or worse. The shift that happens within us, if it is real, is an alchemical change that renders us different in ways that simply can't be undone and can't be ignored. Those differences in our internal world change the journey of our lives. It changes the way we move in the world, and it changes the world in which we live by extension of that. That is feet in the streets spirituality. That's what we're always focusing on. That is practical spirituality. When we let love do its work in us, we are changed into more loving beings. We become empowered to do love's work in the world. It doesn't mean we move away from difficulties. It doesn't mean we transcend what it means to be human. It means something else entirely. Last week I quoted a goodly bit, this teacher, Jim Finley, from his podcast, Turning to the Mystics, that was suggested to me by Margie and Laura. And I've been listening more, and I listened to what is called a bonus episode, which I'm very excited about, called Sink into the Taproot of Your Heart. And this portion of the podcast was recorded right at the beginning of the pandemic. So it's very much focused on what is this new experience we're having. And so sink into the taproot of your heart. I don't want to ignore the title. I don't want to ignore the title. Let's take a breath and hear the words of that title alone. Sink into the taproot of your heart. Do you know what a taproot is? It's a particular kind of root that grows deep down into the earth instead of spreading broadly as a plant grows. Burdock is a plant that has a taproot. It's one that you've seen even if you don't know its name. It has huge broad leaves, and every 2 years it's a biennial plant. On its second year it shoots up this really tall stalk, and at the top of the stalk and seemingly everywhere near it are these burrs that are incredibly irritating if they get on your clothes or on your dog, who always wants to sniff under the burdock. So burdock is a hard plant to defeat because of that taproot, because it's hard to dig deeper than the taproot has dug. And if you leave just a bit of it, it grows into a new burdock plant. Sink into the taproot of your heart. Lends us that same sort of image. It's hard to defeat. It's hard to defeat that which grows from the heart, because you can't really get deeper. You can't really get deeper than that taproot that grows in the heart. And the bit that remains, you get the picture. And in this bonus episode, Finley is talking about the collective trauma of the pandemic. And we have considered that numerous times through this journey. Because what we're seeing in the world is, in large part, our response to trauma. And he says about this, what we're looking for is how to ground ourselves in a love that transcends this collective trauma. Not to flee from it, but to give us the courage and the strength to be authentically present. By extension, I add, paraphrasing where he heads from there, by extension, it gives us the courage and the strength to be authentically present with each other. In the midst of it, we transition from me thinking to we thinking. Practical spirituality. It doesn't remove us. It doesn't remove us from being human or from humanity. It's risky. It's dangerous. It's exhilarating if we allow it. It's awkward and it's difficult and it's incredible. It's incredible and it's worthwhile. And we are at our best when we remember that we are in this together. We are in this together. That's why it's an act of civil engagement to make time and energy for things like gathering at the park today. A gathering of people who are in it with us. Making time for such contact with other human beings nourishes the taproot that sinks into our heart, that reaches deep into our heart and then extends out into the world. We have the opportunity to nourish each other and to accept nourishment from each other when it's time then. When it's time then, having said yes to that nourishment, we can get our feet in the streets. We get our feet in the streets on behalf of love in the world. We are strengthened by our connections so that when the world touches us, we have love and healing to offer, not anger and harm. In fact, that love and healing can grow from the anger response. What we don't offer is aggression and harm. Aggression and harm. When was the last time you let the world touch you? When was the last time you let the world touch you? I'll not invite you to put it in the chat or the comments, and you don't have to ever tell me or anyone else what your answer is to this question. When was the last time that you allowed the world to touch you and responded with healing, or by opening yourself to your own healing? Those are both part of the same process. We are healed as we allow our lives to offer healing to the world. In discussing all of this with my friend, especially this trend of people identifying the faith life and civic life to be separate for them, for their faith life and civic life to be separate, I said, I often have suspicions, very suspicious. I said, I suspect that most of the people you are interviewing lean liberal or progressive simply because I know you and the work that you are doing this research around. And so I wonder if that might be the case. And then I said, I think liberals and progressives are often terrified of the idea that anyone would think our religion is part of our civic engagement, because so many of us have been harmed or have loved ones who have been harmed by what is framed as religion or religious people and religion-informed policy. And that harm has been so consistent that we have come to believe that religion and the inclusion of religion in civic life is the problem. And then we let that linger in the air for a minute. We thought about it. We're both very liberal. And so we had, I'm talking about us to us. And so we let it kind of linger in the air for a minute. And then I was either petting her dog or drinking my coffee or enjoying a bit of my birthday donut. And then I said, I get that fear. I think I sometimes worry so much that I will seem like them that I fail to fully be myself. I don't know if it was the face licking, the caffeine, or the sugar, but I startled myself with that statement. And I said, I'm going to need to think about that. I'm going to need to spend some time with that. By them, I meant the people I had just identified in the conversation, those who use religious language as a foundation for hate and discrimination. There are a lot of thems, though, in the world that I would like to not be associated with. And that likely keeps me from being fully myself from time to time. That is not an inclusive we I've just described. It's not an inclusive we that I'm living into or not living into in those moments. And I suspect you and I might have that in common. We can be a difficult thing to live into. And us, not them isn't enough. Let's take a breath together. Thinking about how the world touches you and how you touch the world. Are there ever ways you feel called to show up and then don't because you worry? Are there ever times that you feel called to show up and then don't because you worry what idea it might give someone else about you? Maybe it's not about being associated with a group or an ideology that isn't yours. Maybe it's some other misidentification you want to avoid. were you to allow yourself to sink into the taproot of your heart at that intersection between call to love in the world and fear about perception, what might you ask yourself about those worries that could dissolve them? What could you ask yourself about those worries that could dissolve them? This is important because who you truly are, precious, precious, who you truly are is exactly who the world needs right now. And moreover, who you truly are is exactly who you need right now. Your healing is inextricably bound to your showing up for the world as you. As you. And I don't think the question is, right, like sometimes we just want to tell people, you don't have to care what other people think. You don't have to care what other people think. I've been regularly clocked as gay since I was in elementary school. And what other people think of people like me matters. It matters because sometimes, because of what they think about people like me, they murder us. So it does matter to me what people think, because sometimes it is a life and death situation. They're thinking of me in the moment. And this isn't a sticks and stones kind of consideration for many of us. So that isn't, in my mind at least, a good question in many situations like this. It's a strong privilege to live as if what other people think of us doesn't matter. Even when it's not life and death. Even when it's not life and death, people can make a lot of trouble for us based on what they think. They make trouble for us and for those about whom we so deeply care. Homophobia, transphobia, racism that shows up like white body supremacy, misogyny. We are in this together. We are in this together, and that means giving some modicum of care to what others think of us, whether it is because of a potential threat to our safety, or if it is because we need to be made aware when we're the ones about to cause harm. We belong to each other, and so this kind of exchange matters. And certainly we shouldn't let the opinion of one or two people shape our entire lives, and I think it dismisses the issue at hand when we say, well, just don't care what other people think of you. A question that could fit, you'll try it on for size, I hope. A question that could fit in that moment when love is calling you in the world and you, because of some fear about perception, don't move forward is, would my decision to say no to this call for love betray my values in service to fear? Would this decision betray my values in service to fear? Another question you might try on is, what is the real risk? What is the real risk if I do this or say this, or you get the idea? What is the real risk? Because having that existential fear, the fear that there might be incredible danger that is real sometimes feels real in times when it isn't. What's the real risk? I'll take a label. You can label me. Right? If I'm serving my values, if I'm moving from that wholeness, a label applied won't stick. So what is the real risk? Another question, what can I honestly do right now? What can I honestly do right now? And that's a question about capacity. That's a question about capacity, not about believing there's nothing we can do in the moment. And I want to be very clear about that, because it depends on tone. Right? If I said, what can I honestly do right now? That's a different question. It's not useful. It feeds into that, like, I'm so small and I'm just one person, and how could I possibly change the world? Well, the world's only ever been changed because one person said yes. One person said yes or no. Right? But that's where it begins. And so this is a contemplation about right now, what can I do? Because our capacity changes. Our capacity changes. Life isn't asking us to martyr ourselves. Life's asking us to participate. So how can I best participate right now? This is a contemplation best given some time. Just best given some time. And it's one that will be impacted by what's happening in the moment. In the moment. It is a contemplation best embraced within the reminders I started with, that you are not alone. You're not the only person feeling how you feel right now, and that your life and the life of the entire world are made better when you bring your wholeness to the world that touches you. And then extend your touch to the world in return. Something practical might be useful. I invite you to start touching the world. But like literally, like physically touch the world with your hands and bless it. Trust me. Trust me. Doing that simple act changes the experience of the moment. It will change your experience of the moment. It changes the way your feet touch the ground, and you can choose your feet instead of your hands for these touches. I've been doing this at home recently. I don't know why. I don't know why I had the urge. I don't know where it came from, but I just decided one day I needed to touch our house. I needed to touch our house more. I love our house. I love where we live. And so I've started touching the door jambs as I'm walking through the house, the woodwork around the doors, and just being grateful. Just being grateful. Our house is a humble house. Our house is a humble house, and it's in a neighborhood that a lot of people avoid, to be quite honest. There is trash on the streets in my neighborhood and in the yards. Yards are neglected. Burned houses stand for a very long time as skeletons that would signal some level of neglect. Abandoned houses exist, sometimes 3 or 4 in a row. It is a beloved neighborhood. It is a beloved neighborhood, and some would miss that. There is this kind of misconception that a beloved neighborhood has manicured lawns, white picket fences, and the requisite affluence for visible signs of wealth. Those are mostly lacking here. I love this neighborhood. Sometimes when I'm walking the dog, I become very aware of how my feet are touching the ground. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it just happens. And I see in my mind, and I experience viscerally this blessing from the earth as my feet touch. And then I visualize my feet touching the earth as a blessing back. I imagine each point of contact causing ripples, as if I had dropped a stone into the surface of still water. And I imagine those concentric rings of love expanding out in all directions, overlapping as I walk. And neighbors smile when I walk by, and sometimes they wave, sometimes we talk. Sometimes they look at me suspiciously. Once in a while, they yell at me that they don't want me to let my dog pee in their yard. I'm not a wizard. I'm not changing their reality in that moment. I'm engaging it. I'm engaging it. I'm engaging it, even if only in my mind's eye. But that's where a lot of the world exists, isn't it? Those touches, our hands on items in our physical space, our feet on the earth, serve to invite us into that experience Jim Finley describes as a state of sustained attentiveness infused with love. if you insist on visualizing the people around you within the sphere of your influence and impact, you can't help but care more about and for the people around you. If you insist, and I hope you will insist, if you insist on visualizing the people around you within your sphere of influence and impact, you can't help but care more about and for the people around you. And you learn to care for and about them in ways they desire, not by painting over their life with yours, as if your choices are the right choices for them. And so it's risky. It's risky, and it's worthwhile. So do that this week. Do that when you're alone, and then do it when you're with people. If you're sitting at the table, touch it and imagine those circles, and your sphere of influence includes those with whom you are gathered. And you don't have to tell them about it unless you want to invite them into the practice with you. Let that love emerge from your heart, sink into it, and let it move through your touch. And then notice where the world is touching you in other ways not physical. And let that kind of touch be the point of contact for this healing as well. And notice where you don't want to. Notice where you are begrudging with your loving, healing touch. Notice where you want to pull back. It doesn't mean putting yourself in unsafe situations and abusive situations. Never. Notice where you want to pull back, though there is potential for love there in some way. Questions to ponder. Mostly though, live quite literally into this feet in the streets spirituality that is always available to you, never needing to seek after it, only asking that you notice, only asking that you participate. Take your whole transformed self into the world and engage. Blessed be. So it is. Amen.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have faith that you need to borrow, for none of us can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. Oh yes, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long, no, till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. So just call on me sisters, call on me. Everybody just call on me. Or each other as the situation dictates.
That was funny. I was like, well, but they shouldn't always call on me because sometimes I want to call on them, right? Let's take a breath. Just a moment. Jeffrey Barnes, again, thank you, Jeffrey, for stepping up as Margie arrived home from an out-of-state visit to find herself locked out of her condo. Adventures. So thank you, Jeffrey, for that. Thank you, Margie, for your constant willingness. Let us take a breath and move into the offering prayer. Let us feel those words as I hope you say them right out loud and sign them right into the space where you are currently existing. And then the closing song, again, the newer the song is for you, the louder I hope you'll sing. And then we move into the closing prayer that infills us and surrounds us with the peace we move in and through in the world. And then there will be a goodbye to our Facebook friends, and then some time for breakout sessions that I hope you make super brief today so that you can get ready to head to Garfield Park. And so let us move into all of that as those words pop up. Creator God, all that I am and all that I have comes from your limitless supply. I am an open and willing conduit through which your good flows. I share all that I have as you direct. Love, friendship, prosperity, peace, abundance, and joy are gifts that I share and receive. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. Amen.
All people are holy, many paths, one God. All people are holy, only love is real. No matter who you are, no matter where you've been, let's gather together and let the Spirit in. All people are holy, many paths, one God. All bodies are holy, only love is real. Only love is real.
May the peace of God go before us into this glorious week. And may the peace remain wherever we have walked. Peace above us and below us. Peace to the right and to the left. Peace within and without. Peace in the face of everyone we meet. Peace in the words to everyone we greet. Amen. So, happy Sunday. For those of you who have been gathered on Facebook, thank you for gathering there, whether it is on Sunday morning or sometime later. Gathering at a distance in time and space, thank you for gathering and for making church happen for yourself right now, maybe with others. Blessings on your week. Boy, I hope I get to see you this afternoon. Thank you for being here now.